Tick-tock, tick-tock, counting down the click-clock. Old, young, big, small. Blast this Christmas music! It's joyful and triumphant.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Your heart's an empty hole. Number one, baby, here we go. Hey everyone, welcome back to Mr. Teach Film Preach, and today we are finishing up my list, the 12 days of Chris must watch films, and we are finishing up today with our list. This is it, guys, number one, here we go. Gold medal, first place. Check it out. The best Christmas movie of all time to watch. And again, this is my list. I'm so excited to talk about this movie today. First place prize goes to Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas 2000. It is directed by the great Ron Howard and stars Jim Carrey as the title role of the Grinch. This movie is a childhood staple of mine. I'm sorry, guys. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for having this as my number one pick. I know a lot of people are already disappointed that I don't have certain movies on this list. That's my list. The Grinch Stole Christmas is a live-action adaptation of the great Dr. Seuss's book, not ignoring the Boris Karloff cartoon version of this story that's a lot shorter, that's more closely fit to the actual book itself. Love that cartoon. I grew up watching that cartoon. I'm going to put that as my number one pick between the two films and go, okay, what do I watch every single Christmas, every single year? And to me, Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, I watch the Jim Carrey live action version for one simple reason. Jim Carrey. He is a staple in comedy. He had a few roles that were his no matter what. Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, and I also put The Grinch That Stole Christmas in that category. The Grinch That Stole Christmas is the classic Dr. Seuss story of a creature called the Grinch that lives in the mountain on Mount Crumpet above the town of Whoville, where all the Who's down in Whoville love Christmas, are obsessed with it, and he hates Christmas, and he hates the Who's, particularly in this film and this adaptation. And he decides that he wants to get back at the Who's and destroy their Christmas spirit, Christmas cheer. And so he decides that he will steal Christmas from them by taking away all their presents and decorations. Jim goddamn Carrey. He is so good in this role. It is meant for him. I mean, the poor man had to endure 3-4 hours of in the makeup chair each day for over 2 months, 2.5 months. And wow. First of all, this is Jim Carrey, a person who is not known for sitting still. As much as people kind of dismiss Jim Carrey sometimes as an actual actor and performer, I've never understood that, because people who are so critical of him, you go and do that then. You go and try and be funny by being an over actor, by being cartoonish, and still being able to pull up the heartstrings of our audience members. I just think that people don't give him enough credit, not only for his physical comedy and his facial expressions, absolutely he's great at those, but his wit, his intuition for comedy, the things that he comes up on the spot. This film has a lot of improv scenes that they really just put a camera in front of him and just said, go, just come up with some stuff. There's actually, I think, a scene in the movie that was pretty much totally improvised by Jim Carrey, and that's the scene where he's talking to Max in the cave, and he's trying to get Max to put on the nose, and and he's talking about how the nose of Rudolph is a symbol for Christmas and rejecting it, and he's acting like the director. He's kind of acting like Ron Howard there. He even has a hat that's reminiscent of like hats that Ron Howard usually wears when he's on set, when he's directing. Brilliant! Jim Carrey being able to come up with really funny material on the spot. And you almost side with him. That can only be done by bringing in a fantastic actor, and they found one in Jim Carrey. I mean, this movie is so quotable, it is insane. There's obviously the most quoted lines for sure, like, The Grinch. Ah, hooray, hoo-bah, hoo, yee-haw, welcome Christmas, bring your cheer. What's that stench. It's fantastic. Can you say who? I hate you. Hate, hate, hate. Hate, hate, hate. Double hate. Loathe entirely. I'm feeling. I did it. I'm the Grinch that stole Christmas. What are you looking at, Rudolph? One man's toxic waste is another man's potpourri. Woo woo! I don't know, some kind of soup. The dialogue, the things that he comes up with, all the little things that he chooses to do when he's in the town the first time around and he's walking around with that mask on and he's causing havoc. And someone's like, the Grinch, and the Grinch? Oh no! Somebody has vandalized that vehicle. You see, Max? The city is a dangerous place. And he turns around and he's got the saw behind his back. Or when he is walking in the town and people are saying Merry Christmas to him, he's just like, midget. Merry Christmas, midget. To be behind that face, that mask for so long and being able to still be better than everyone else in the film. I mean, come on. Give Jim Carrey some respect. I think he was even nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Comedic Performance for that year, where the film relies on its actor to sell the film than necessarily the film itself.
Oh. That's it, I'm not going.
To me, the appeal of this movie is Jim Carrey in the role of the Grinch. Kelly, which was the name of the dog that played Max, is amazing in this film. Yes, I consider this dog as one of the best actors in this film. Dog and Jim Carrey have a really great bond. You really feel that, wanting the Grinch to accept Max for who he is and just finally love him like the friend that he truly is. And you finally get that payoff at the end. No, Max! Christmas is a celebration of the human spirit of for some people, it's the celebration of Christ. For some people, it's the celebration of family. And I think that's what this film is trying to point out, is that Christmas can't be taken away from us because it lives inside of us. And that theme, I love. The humor in this movie is great. It's very over the top, and you need that for a Dr. Seuss adaptation. And there's some really funny comedic timing. The makeup and the costuming and the wigs in this movie won the Academy Award. So many extras and people in this film. The production of the town of Whoville, the construction, the set design is very good. The great makeup artist Rick Baker did a phenomenal job doing the mouths and the noses of the Whos and their eyes. They had a whole army of makeup stylists and cosmetics people come in. The makeup, the style, the hair, the costumes, the production is fantastic in this movie. It is a great film to look at. Besides those great things, though, this movie really isn't that good. Oh, I hate saying it. My friends that are big Jim Carrey fans, along with myself, I'm sure right now are screaming at me.
What is wrong with you people?
And I understand. Listen, guys, where the issues lie with this movie is the writing. The Illumination Studios version of the Grinch, Benedict Cumberbatch as the role of the Grinch. He's still no Boris Karloff, and he's still no Jim Carrey. But I think that film improved upon the Jim Carrey one was it had a better story. There was a better structure. The themes of isolating oneself, being alone, and the power of Christmas is in companionship and family, and leaning more in that direction, where instead this version really is a man getting his revenge on the people of Whoville. Not so much hating Christmas, but hating the Whos. Where in the animated film, it's more about him being isolated and not understanding Christmas and hating the Whos because they love Christmas so much, and not just hating the Whos because they were bullies. I think that's where this film and Ron Howard's vision and direction really turned us against the Whos. We're supposed to be celebrating the Whos, and I don't get that from this film. And actually, it creates a darker film. It feels like a lot of times that this film was filmed indoors. Oh, wait, it is filmed inside of a giant soundstage, a giant studio soundstage. And it felt like that at times. The CGI is awful in this movie. It just looks strange at points. Unfortunately, those mistakes do show up in this film and are very apparent. The whole thing with like Cindy Lou Who and interviewing people about the backstory of the Grinch. I felt like if they had structured the story a bit better, this film would not feel so dragged down and bogged down in the middle. The whole thing with like him being in Whoville or going to the Whobilation and being the holiday, really important integral part of the story. The Grinch didn't need to go down to Whoville and be in this Whobilation and just so then he can relearn to hate the Who's again, and then that pushes him into stealing Christmas. He already had a hate for Christmas. He already had a hate for the Who's for celebrating Christmas. We didn't need this whole bully story. I understand what the direction was, that they wanted to make us as the audience understand why the Grinch hated the Who so much. But if you look at the story, the actual original story of Dr. Seuss, it's just because the Who's love Christmas so much. And the Grinch hates Christmas because he doesn't understand it. At his core, his heart, he doesn't, or lack of heart, he doesn't understand what Christmas is about. Instead, in this film, they took it, he hates Christmas because he hates the Who so much because they bullied him. I just felt like that part of the storytelling was lacking a lot, and it pulls the film down from a better grade. This movie is really trying to do a balancing act of being kid-friendly, but also being appealing towards adults, of being dark, but also being lighthearted. And I just think sometimes the balancing act doesn't really work. The other thing that drives me nuts about this movie is the camera shots. Jim Carrey breaks the fourth wall in the movie, and I love that. I love the songs and the feel that this movie gives you. And I think they had some interesting shots, and I'm glad it wasn't just like set up a tripod and put a camera here and let's do a medium to wide shot of this. Who don't know what that is put your fingers up like this as like you're seeing through a lens of a camera. And then now tilt your lens like this and go back and forth. That's what they call a Dutch angle. And a lot of movies in cinema use the Dutch angle not very effectively. This movie is one of those examples. I know that it's in Whoville and they're trying to make it very fantasy. If you do it too much, it's distracting. It's annoying. It can be very discombobulating. It makes you feel off-put in some ways. It's meant to do that. And they do the Dutch angle way too much in this film. Like parts where the Who's are running around, they do these slow motion takes of the Who's like running, and the angle's like, oh, and it's so annoying. Necessarily if Ron Howard was really aware of like how much they're shaking the camera, and so for that alone pulls the film down a couple of grades. And you have to be very aware of where you set your camera, of how you set up your shots. They could have cut this film down in a lot of ways. There was too many scenes that lingered too long, and it felt like it was just, the editing wasn't there. They could have chopped off about 10-15 minutes of this film. A lot of the Whobilation stuff where they're celebrating, I felt like was very unnecessary already for the character and the story itself. Overall, this is a really fun experience. I think most people enjoy this film. It is totally classic. It is a quote-worthy movie. It is a hilarious portrayal of the Grinch.
Somebody's fabulous!
I think it would go voice-wise, Boris Karloff for sure. Performance-wise, Jim Carrey, absolutely. And then Benedict Cumberbatch. Performance by Jim Carrey is amazing. The production value, the costumes, the makeup, the music and the sounds and the feel that you get from this film are really great. But the execution of the story, the camera angles, the shots, the pacing, the editing at times are a little weak. All the elements weren't there. You know when you have all groups, all different departments in a film firing on all cylinders, it makes it just a masterpiece film. I feel like they had a few misfires in the actual story construction. I feel like this film could have been a bigger Christmas classic than what it is. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and give the 2000 film How the Grinch Stole Christmas a B-.
Wrong-o.
It pains me to give it that grade. I really wanted to give it like a B+ or an A-, but I just couldn't do it.
What's the matter with you? You some kind of wild animal?
Thanks for watching, you guys. Hopefully you liked this video. Click like down below. Subscribe. That would be amazing. Let me know. Do you guys like this film? What do you guys like more? Boris Karloff's version or the Jim Carrey version? Which one is your Grinch for you guys? So that wraps up my 12 days of Chris must watch films for this season. I apologize for being a little bit later. on releasing these than I said. I will be better prepared for next year. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. Hopefully you guys had a great holidays. Merry Christmas. And as always, let's get Todd.